I do it because anybody that's never been there, and if you like this kind of stuff, you owe it to yourself to get your butt in that store. I've not seen the remodel in person since it happened over the COVID stuff. I know it looks fantastic, and I'm sure those people would love to get in and experience them. So please, if you're in the Dallas area, stop in, see them if you're lucky, and you see this very lovely ginger standing off to the side.
It's probably Kelly.
Oh.
But you could also see me there.
Yes. You can say hello.
There was a joke at one point that I only hired gingers behind the counter. Which was kind of true there for a little bit, just by happenstance.
You didn't go seeking them out?
No.
So seeking out, let's also talk about, we're going to seek out a bit of truth for you that happened this week. You went to L.A. So
the audience that's listening, if they've been catching the in-betweens, they know that I had kind of, I went on I do CrossFit, and I went on a first ever kind of weight gain to put on weight to move more weight, to pick up heavier objects. And my nutrition coach then put me on a lean to lean out. And I needed a target or a goal or something to motivate me to go through this entire process. And yes, picking up more weight is great, but then you got to go on a lean to cut some of the stuff out. And I had said back when I was 50, I said, you know what, I see these guys, you know, having photo shoots that are models and actors and singers and dancers or whatever. And I'm like, I own a comic book shop. I'm never going to have that opportunity. Nobody's going to call me up and say, hey, we want to, you know, put you on a billboard for a bus selling Armani cologne.
Right.
But I thought, you know what, surely I would like to do something for that stuff to document my 50th birthday. And so, but it became my goal when after the gain and the lean, like, this will be the target. That's what I'm going to shoot for. So I went to LA. I'd hired a photographer who does specifically men's photography. I'm one of like 6 or 7 people he saw this week. And I spent a day with him in his studio. We did some shots, and in a couple weeks, I'll probably see the result of those. And it's just, you know, they're shots for me. This was my birthday treat to myself.
Right.
I would like to share them. I'm not sure that my husband would ultimately want me to share some of them. But yeah, I enjoyed it so much that I would even consider going back again in a couple of years or 2 years just to kind of document the progress of age and what it means for me. So there you go. But for the audience, the gentleman that I used does kind of romantic men's photography, if you will. So it is a lot of odd body shapes and clothed, partially unclothed, nude style stuff. Yeah, well, that's just it. You know, we talked about this a couple weeks ago on a podcast. There's a lot of women in their 40s and 50s that decide to go have a bombshells photo shoot taken care of, or a boudoir photo series. This is not unlike that. That's what I went and did. And now I've showed 2 of the shots to the guys.
Right.
My husband doesn't want me to share any of them online, but I don't think that they're actually that bad.
Well, I'm assuming he doesn't listen to this podcast, so he'll never know.
He might. But like, okay, so
God knows my wife doesn't. So
for the listening audience, this is basically, and I haven't told you guys, this is how it unfolded. He saw the shots of my hotel room, and he wanted to start there before going to his studio.
Okay.
And he came to the hotel. The lighting by the window was really, really good. So I had purchased some vintage 70s kind of disco shirts. So the first series are basically me in jeans and t-shirts by this window, right? Nice lighting there. The second series of shots were in white boxers on the bed. There was a couple of series of shots of me with no pants on.
Oops.
Walking away from the camera in the hotel room.
How did he ever catch you without your pants on?
Oh my goodness. Walking away from the camera in this nice hotel room. So you can see that there's going to be some artistic level to what the hotel room provides to these kind of shots.
Right.
Yeah.
Then we went back to his studio, which was down the street from there. He pulled out some white butcher paper that they use for that background and brought it down. So I was now kind of on a set, if you will, with just white.
Right.
And he also has 3 or 4 mirrors, and he had decided that he wanted to shoot me through the mirrors as opposed to directly on initially. So he had 2 or 3 mirrors, and he was shooting through me to the mirrors. Now, the first couple of shots, I changed out the disco shirt. So it was jeans and a shirt, and the shirt was unbuttoned, right? And so there are several shots like that. Then he started shooting me from outside on the fire escape, shooting into the studio.
Right.
The next series of shots, we put on my vintage tube socks that are red and blue and a jock strap. So the photo that you guys saw was basically from me in the jock strap in reverse. And there were lots of stuff on the floor. There was lots of kind of odd body positions. Then he wanted to get a series of shots of me sitting on a stool. I had a black t-shirt on, but I don't have any pants on, but he's shooting from the side. So it's not like we're getting any penis in it.
Right.
And I'm basically slowly pulling the shirt off. So you can kind of see this is the style that he was going for.
Right.
Were there some pantsless shots? There are a couple. But I honestly, when somebody's shooting you with the camera, I'm not sure what he's looking at. He might just be looking at my shoulder. He may not be necessarily looking at the full figure.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure what that was. And then we did some where I was on the ground, still on the white paper, but half my body was off on to the cement, the polished cement concrete behind. So half my body was on, half my body was off.
Okay.
And he wanted to do some things with my hands outstretched so he could shoot through my hands towards my torso.
Right.
It was a fascinating process. Fascinating process. And again, he does like 4, 5, 6 people a week. So it's not like
That's his job.
that's his job.
Okay.
For me, it was an experience. We talked about that. Hey, this is not something I ever do.
Now, I know you've been in photo shoots for JJ, Sean's wife.
Correct.
And Sean and I have been around those kind of things. Is this the first, other than that you've done that's solely for you, that you've
Correct.
ever done? Okay.
Yeah, this was the first time I've ever. I mean,
It's a bizarre. I said that because I mentioned to you how being in a band, you have to get headshots done all the time for promo stuff. But it's a bizarre experience to put yourself in that way. And that why I'm saying that is, did you feel like yourself, or when you're put in those poses, does it feel manufactured in your head at all?
You know what? Let me rewind this. I'm gonna correct myself. I have been in photo shoots that were specifically just me.
Okay.
The Dallas Voice locally wanted to do a fit over 40 thing about 4 years ago, and so we went to a gym, and my friend Ruben came out and took some shots of me in the gym doing fitness stuff. I was profiled in D Magazine for something related to CrossFit, so I did some rope climbs and some stuff outside. There was another one. Ruben needed some stuff for his class, so there's some shots of me doing some shirtless shots of me for Ruben for one of his class assignments. So I have done that stuff, but never solely hey, I want to hire a professional photographer for me personally, and I'm going to be comfortable doing kind of nude-esque romantic style work. Right. This is the first time I've done a romantic shoot. Talk about the band stuff, because you talked about the fact that this, like, you're posing and you're like, the photographer was telling me, odd body shapes photograph really well. Right. So I need you to do this kind of hunched over, turned, convulsed kind of stuff. Right. And meanwhile, I'm going, I have no pants on.
Well, what I had brought up to Richard is I have spent my whole life as a drummer, and when you're the drummer in a band, you usually, you don't exactly carry your drum kit around with you in a photo. They might ask for sticks in your back pocket, which I don't put sticks in my back pocket. But the bigger thing is now as the lead singer and guitarist in a band, almost inevitably somebody says, sling it over your shoulder and put it down by your side. I'm going to tell you honestly, I've done that in countless photo shoots. Last night, we went and busked on the streets of McKinney, a very old historic city here. For the first time in my 54 years, I walked around with my guitar like that, because you're actually moving and you have to. But that pose you see is not normal. So when you talk about distorted body shapes and things like that, to me, photo shoots are very odd. Now, as a musician, you also have to be aware, and we're about to play a big gig in Arlington at Troy Aikman's restaurant, and that's on a big stage with lights and stuff, and there is a photographer coming. Now, taking live shots of you, that's very different, because they're going to try and grab your performance. Now, I'm already very conscious of when I'm on stage of those poses you do. People expect to see things. You go and you strum your guitar, and you do those things. You have to make the moment feel real to them. When somebody starts clicking a lens and you're doing it, now I'm really like, okay, this is the dorkiest thing I've ever done, but it's part of the illusion.
It's part of the illusion. I mean, the awkward pose that you may be in is not going to capture the full scene of what's happening. It's really meant to be a moment, right?
The stanza pose.
Well, and
Yeah.
Sean brought that up from Seinfeld. I didn't really watch a lot of Seinfeld. What's that?
Because George Costanza, he was doing some shoots, and he was on an ottoman or
A chaise lounge.
a chaise lounge in boxers,
And,
stretched out.
and it's a funny image, right?
Yeah.
Because it's what you think that you look like when you do that.
Yeah.
So I had to trust the fact that this guy is not going to give me a
Amen.
George Costanza photo that I'm looking like,
Right.
what the hell is he doing? Why is he looking so weird? What's that goofy expression on his face? You know? Because that's what you're doing. You're doing that pose that George Costanza did on that couch. We're like,
Right.
I'm art stretched, my butt is out, my hand is here, and so you just hope that you don't look like George Costanza. The comedy of it is that's what you physically feel like you're doing.
Well, I think in those kind of moments, it's all about, whether it be a photo shoot that you're doing with JJ or this kind of thing, it's about trusting who's in charge of it,
Right.
and leading you, and they're not going to make a fool of you. And here's the great thing for you. These photos are either seen if you want them to or they're not. They're yours. So even if you look foolish in a shot, you don't have to do anything with it.
Right.
But it really is giving yourself over to someone and not...
Well, I mean, it was a fun experience. Like
Yeah.
I did I say this on here or before? I'm seriously thinking about maybe this is something I want to do to document my age as I get older.
I think
maybe
that's
not
cool.
maybe not every year, maybe every 2 years, maybe every 5 years, something like that. I go back and visit Ramon. I need to see the shots first to see what they look like, to see if it's a quality that I like. But yeah, sure. Well, I'm getting older. Let's kind of do something fun like this every year.
Now, I will say hesitantly, I don't know if I've ever told you this, and it was when we were at broadcast.com, Sean, and I used to go work out with some people over to Bally's, and it was down by Deep Ellum. And there was this old man that would come in, and I've since found out this is actually a condition some men have, that his testicles had dropped down to his knees. So if that happens to you, I'm going to at least say, find a way to harness the balls away from the shot.
Well,
Because when you'd walk in the locker room, you're like, oh my God. And it was just like...
That is a really weird, a really weird
So when
place
you
to
talk,
go.
when you talk about your body aging, I thought, hey, please don't do that.
Did you ever say, "I know you're not crazy, but I can see your nuts"?
No, I didn't say it. So they actually called him. He's probably no longer with us. He was very old, but there was a very large gay gathering at that place, and they loved that they were all like, "Oh, you're straight guys coming to our club. We love you." Well, one of the guys, I think his name was Leon. He was an African American guy, and he'd come over and go, "Sugar, Dom loves you." He liked to call him Dom. I don't know why, but he's like, "That old man thinks you are great." And I was like, okay, if I were to be flattered by that, could he at least put those balls away, please? It was like, they were just so painful. It was, I just hope that doesn't happen to me. But if it happens to you, I'm going to buy you a jockstrap so that you don't ever have to have that in your photo.
Well, I did wear a jockstrap in my
Yeah, remember?
photo. I even showed you the photo
Yeah.
of me in the jockstrap, which my husband. I understand why my husband does want me to share that one.
Yeah, of course.
But there's in kind of getting older, there is the want or the desire to not to care about the progression of time or age, but also the perspective or to be able to appropriately age. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
like that, like not to care, just like I'm letting it go. I'm just going to let all this go to whatever. My hair's going to go gray. My hair's going to fall out. This is going to happen. I'm going to not worry about trying to keep a 6-pack ab because it's just not possible. But I also want the perspective to be able to do everything gracefully.
Absolutely. And I think that anyone that ever looks at those things as vanity, it's like, who gives a shit if it is vanity? If it's yours and that's what you want to do. And if anything, I think that's a very cool idea to show the aging process with that and to document what you do with your body and all those kind of things. I think it's fucking awesome.
There was probably a point, a few years ago when I would watch the internet and I would see people doing selfies on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and those kinds of stuff. And early on, I think it kind of annoyed me, the frequency with which I would see somebody post a photo of a selfie. But the more as time has come along, I'm like, no, they feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
They feel power. I actually like people's when they do selfies, even if it's the same repeating selfie. I'm in the gym today. Here's my bicep. You know what? I applaud that. That's you're feeling strong. You're feeling good about yourself. You're doing something good for yourself. I don't care. Cool. Like it.
Now, I like that. On the flip side with selfies and those kind of things when we talk social media, and I'm only going to say this because I've seen this on a female side, when someone posts a picture and it's very revealing and someone says something to them like the person then comes up and says, how dare you say anything about that? What was your motivation for putting that photo out there? So those kind of things get into that. If you're simply saying, this is who I am, this is what I'm working on,